of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to welcome everyone to our special meeting of September 11th. And please note that the council is in attendance except for Mr. Hagan, who's absent. We'll start with items from council, if anyone has anything. We were just here 36 hours ago. Okay, seeing nothing from council. Citizens communication. Anyone would like to speak about any particular issue at all? Okay. We'll close citizens communication and move into ordinances.
Item C1 is an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Victoria City Code relating to fees, increasing various fees for services administered by the City Secretary's office, repealing conflicting parts of existing ordinances, providing for codification and savings, and declaring an effective date. This is a second and third reading.
Move we adopt.
Second. Okay, motion and second, and we have seen this before. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those...
The question from the audience, the people who aren't hearing the microphones weren't able to hear that. It is our tradition that we do not have public hearings on the second and third reading. I think the confusion comes from the heading that says ordinances and items with public hearings, because there's a subheading down below item number 6, and items below that subheading do have public hearings.
Well,
this is not posted.
I think we can go ahead and have a public hearing. Does anyone on council have a problem with that? Gentleman wants to come. We'll have a public hearing. Keep your comments brief, sir, and go right ahead.
It'll be very brief.
Thank
Mark Lofgren, 116 Wilshire. I'm not for excessive fees, but fees should pay for the administrative costs. Otherwise, the citizens are paying for the difference. One of the things on your C1 is a pool hall thing. And I heard that we don't have very many. The point isn't whether we have very many. The fees, I've heard it said in this room that the city charges fees to pay for the administrative costs. Well, if the fee doesn't pay for all the administrative costs, then that money comes from somewhere else, out of the budget, or taxpayers pay more money. So fees should pay for whatever the license, permit, replacement item is, and the administrative costs that go with it. That would only be fair to the rest of the people in the city. That's the point I wanted to make.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so thank you for your comments. I believe there was, with respect to what the speaker addressed, about 20 permits a year for pool hall permits. Was that right?
15.
15. So the effect of the current increase is about $150 total, because we're going up $10. And so does anyone want to make a motion to amend it to go up to the full amount? What would be the full amount, Ms. Garrett? Do you have that?
$30 and something cents.
Well, if you,
It'd be more than that.
$47.50 if it's in-state. If it's out-of-state, it's a range. And Gilbert's looking at me like, oh, she's doing math.
So it's 15 now. Y'all are proposing 25. The
Right.
citizen suggested we just go all the way up to the amount it cost.
In addition, if I may point out, Mayor, there are other fees that require background checks that are also set at 25. So this was also bringing it in alignment with what some other fees would be. If we were to look at making them all recoup 100%, we would need to go back and look at some of the other line items as well. A little more complicated than what we intended to do.
And I would argue that those pool halls also pay property taxes and other taxes as well to contribute to the city's operation.
I think the regular citizen who may never even go to a pool hall benefits by having people that are lawful abiding people run pool halls, I guess. That's why the background check. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's a small amount, but his point is well taken. So unless anyone wants to amend it, we will maybe next year get it up. Okay. Any further discussion? All
I
those,
just
in-
have one question.
yes, ma'am.
Was that for the pool hall owner's background check, and didn't you say it gets done only once? Or did I misunderstand when I read it?
I believe that's correct. April?
It's done each year.
Each year,
Each
once a
year?
year.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
All right, item C2 is an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Victoria City Code relating to fees, increasing various fees for services administered by the Development Services Department, repealing conflicting parts of existing ordinances, providing for codification and savings, and declaring an effective date. This is also a second and third reading.
Public
Motion to approve item C2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And again, we've seen all of these at least once, so, but is there discussion on this one?
I had one area. Why are we, I'd like to leave the nonprofit banners over Main Street at the current. We're proposing going from 150 to 160 per week. And, you know, again, the nonprofits typically are trying to promote a nonprofit fundraising event. Just thought I'd toss that, bring a little light to that. If there was any interest or support in leaving that at least 150.
No comments about that suggestion?
I would make an amendment to the fees to leave it at 150.
Okay. And Mr. Alvarez, you made, that was a motion.
It wasn't a motion, I wanted to have a conversation, and then, but if
You might have a second. if-
Lisa's making a motion, I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, so that would leave that at 150 rather than raise it to 160. Any other thoughts about it?
What goes into the banner?
It takes two of our utility, our traffic control people go out and hang the banner.
The
Bucket truck and
Yes. So we're just trying to recover our cost, the manpower cost,
How long does it
equipment
take?
cost. Oh, Jeff,
Too long.
Probably an hour, not that long, but you've got equipment plus manpower.
The banners are provided by the nonprofits.
that's correct.
Yes.
Years ago, we came up with an idea, or I did, of putting a hand crank, because it's in the same, on both sides, so we
Right,
don't,
right.
but it just never got anywhere. Maybe that's a kooky idea, but no.
At one time, we've had this discussion many times over the years, and at one time, we had thought of, instead of city people doing it, to hiring it out to a private sign firm, and have them do it, and let them charge their reasonable rate. It'd be much more than 150.
bucket truck you can get for $110 an hour. Sometimes though they'll charge a 3-hour minimum.
Good, then let them do it.
How many times a year we do this? Isn't it about half a dozen? Or-
No, it's more than that. I don't have that number, but it's certainly more than half a dozen. There's a possibility for it to be up there to do this 52 times. because
Every day?
Yeah,
Every
no,
week.
every
Every
week.
week, 'cause
Yeah.
They're running it a week at a time.
It's rare for a week not to have a banner up.
I guess
There's-
I'm used to them.
Yeah, I think so.
I think based on what I know, I can rent a bucket truck for per hour, and if we're just charging back what we could, and they're $90 to $110 for a bucket truck.
Plus manpower,
Nope,
time.
that's
Maybe we should just farm this out then.
Okay, the amendment was just to leave it at 150, guys.
I still want the whole flagpole concept, just crank them up, but guess that was years ago in Parks Commission we talked about this. That's how long ago.
You're gonna have to block traffic while you're.
Just do it real fast, Jerry. Come on. All right, and I'm sorry, a little levity helps, but, so we do have a motion and a second to amend it to leave it at 150. I don't have too strong an opinion either way. I will say that, this sounds unpopular, but I don't like to have the option of being charitable with taxpayer dollars. I know that may sound odd. I do agree that a lot of these nonprofits do add to our community. That's not in question at all. but we just treat everyone just the same. You know, I kind of try to fly by that, but on this, especially the amount is somewhat immaterial, I don't have a problem with it personally. So that's my thoughts.
So the motion is just for nonprofits at 150?
That's all we
That's
do.
right.
That's all we do on banners is nonprofit.
Well, see there? Then it
So
doesn't matter.
it's written nonprofit banner, so it's real clear that it's for nonprofits to put banners up. So it's just,
For-profit entity doesn't have
Yeah,
the
that's-
option of putting one up.
Right.
Anyway. Okay, no more discussion? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so that's got enough for, thank you very much. Now, we still have the motion and second for C2 as amended. Any discussion about it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Item C3 is an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Victoria City Code related to fees to provide for a charge for lost or damaged library items, repealing conflicting parts of existing ordinances, providing for enforcement, publication, codification, and savings, and declaring an effective date. This is also a second and third reading.
Move we adopt C3.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. C4.
Item C4 is an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Victoria City Code related to fees to increase fees to cover the average cost of providing various public works services, repealing conflicting parts of existing ordinances, providing for codification and savings, and declaring an effective date. This is also a second and third reading.
Move we adopt C4?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No discussion?
Just quickly, maybe for future, how you arrived at the increases, or you might have a quick answer for that, Ms. Short.
These are, of course, fees for services, new water tap installations, new sewer tap installations, that sort of thing. So we have a spreadsheet for each one of these that has the manpower, the equipment, and all the materials. So every year, we go out, get new quotes on all the materials, input that into the spreadsheet. We input the FEMA rates for all the equipment and our average manpower rates for each of the three positions that make up a crew. And then we take that's the average cost, and we set these fees just so that they recover the average cost for performing those services.
Thank you.
Lynn, did y'all already send out the flyer with the water bills about it, this increase?
It is going out. They're going out with every utility bill in September.
I've got mine.
I got mine too.
I noticed it too, so, okay, at the office. Good. Any further questions or discussions on C4? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C5 is an ordinance amending the 2013-2014 City of Victoria General Fund budget by transferring $250,000 to the construction fund for the US 59 Business and Loop 463 traffic signal project, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. This is also a second and third reading.
Move we adopt C5.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second for the traffic light. This is the one we voted on about 8 times, I think, so. Any discussion?
The only question I had is, this money is reimbursable back to the city from TxDOT at one point in the next fiscal year, we anticipate?
That's correct.
So it'll be unbudgeted at that point when it comes back?
Well, it's an assumption right now that played into the general fund that the money goes back to the general fund. So it's already assumed that the money would be back to general fund.
Which ends up going...
Now, if council decides to divert that for something else, that's council priority.
we just put it back into the,
Yeah, but right now, the
We don't
budget assumes that goes back.
yeah, we don't reallocate it to a project or anything.
But we could.
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
It's your call, council's call.
And it's going into the 2015 because it'll be reimbursed in that year?
Yeah.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Item C6 is an ordinance amending Schedule 1 of Section 22-9 of the Victoria City Code to add a portion of Northeast Street to the referenced schedule of one-way streets, repealing parts of conflicting ordinances, providing for a penalty not to exceed $500, providing for enforcement, publication, and savings, and declaring an effective date. This is also a second and third reading.
Who we adopt?
Second.
We have our motion and second. Is there any discussion on this?
Okay, I just want to ask something. How are we going to let the public know that this is going to be turned into a one-way other than them getting the ticket, if they're going to go in there the first time because they're used to going through there?
It will
Is there
be signed, it will be signed as a one-way street in accordance with, the traffic signal requirements, traffic sign requirements. And of course, the residents that live right in that area have already been notified and talked to about, so they're aware of it. And for the general traveling public, it'll be signed just like any other one-way street.
Okay.
MUTCD was I couldn't find that, but that's what it is, MUTCD.
Municipal traffic.
Uniform Traffic Control Devices, Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
You didn't know you're going to be tested. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Item C7 is an ordinance setting the tax rate at a total rate of $0.5840 per $100 of property valuation and levying a tax upon all property subject to taxation within the city of Victoria, Texas for the 2014 tax year for the use and support of municipal government for the city of Victoria, providing for the assessment and collection of taxes, apportioning said levy among various funds and items for which revenue must be raised, including providing a sinking fund for the retirement of bonded debt of the city, providing for penalties and interest for delinquent taxes as prescribed by Texas Tax Code, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for savings, and declaring an effective date. This is a second reading, but we do have it posted for a public hearing, as is our practice. And I would remind Mayor and council members that there is statutory language that must be used to make the motion on this item, and it can be found in the CM1.
A public hearing.
Yes. We'll have a public hearing on C7. If anyone would like to come forward and speak specifically about this item, and seeing no one, we'll close that public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $0.584, which is effectively a 0.83% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any discussion about it? This is our last second reading.
This is the second reading.
Okay. Seeing none. I do, I appreciate y'all, all the effort put into this. I know we still have to finish the budget vote, but I want to recognize it is a very small tax increase, and I think the public understands that, 0.83%, which translates to 0.48 cents or whatever per 100, but the fact that I'm particularly proud of is we're able to build a budget around it and include that first year one of the 10-year street rehab program, and that additional $1 million combined with your existing $1 million to start that program off. I can only hope future councils continue it. So, okay.
It is still a decrease in the tax rate, even though if your values went up, you'll see that slight increase. But we are, the current tax rate is $59.96. So I'm not sure if the public recognizes we are lowering our tax rate.
A penny and a half off the actual rate, but about a penny above the effective rate, which of course would raise the same revenue. So,
but it's still, if your house values went up, you will see a small increase in
right.
But if your value stayed the same or lowered, you'll see a decrease.
He's listening carefully. So, Ms. Elise, did you have a comment?
What does that 0.83% equal to in dollars? I know you've given it to us.
The 0.48 cents?
Yes.
About $187,000.
Is that all? So we could have gotten to the effective tax rate had we lowered it by $187,000? That was my question.
Yeah, you
Probably went
could,
through that
yes.
session.
To answer your question, you could.
just have to find cuts to get there.
And we did cut how much? A handful of things, so.
Cut a lot. I don't.
Anyway,
Since
yeah,
then-
no,
No,
I
I'm
know.
just
I know.
asking.
Yeah.
Just asking.
But
because-
you also keep in mind, besides the road improvement, we got a new sweeping program coming online. We have a pay raise for the police and fire. We also have pay raise for everybody else.
Right.
So overall, you know, we have kept the last year's services as status quo, even though about $48,000 to $50,000 less than last year. The new service coming on is about slightly over $1 million. So,
Well, with the pay program, it's closer to 2 million. With your sweeping.
well, if you, yeah.
You get close to 2, where we've only increased our expenses in the general fund close to 400,000.
Overall.
Overall.
Yeah.
So we
Combined,
did
yeah.
lower in order to add the street programs and the pay programs for the employees. We did make cuts. So,
I might also remind council, we increased the reserve.
We increased the
we
reserve
did.
by 23.5 to 25%.
Right, so that was a good little number to go to, I guess, from 12.3 million to 12.457 million in reserve, which gives us a 3-month operating
That's correct.
in the event we have.
That was
So
our,
there's that almost 87,000. Which leaves us about, I think, about 102,000, the difference
excess.
between what we should have and what we have. So that doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room in the event that there's, an opportunity or, if hopefully not, a crisis that we need to deal with.
Okay. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Nothing on the consent agenda. No further business? We
I
have
think we ought to ask Lynn Short to give us a report for those that are watching us on TV about the Stage 3, so that the public could have one more venue of learning about it.
I'm glad you remembered that, Mr. Halapaska. Thank you. If council doesn't mind, we'll let Lynn tell us about that.
Certainly. Well, despite the recent rainfall we've had here locally, the flow in the Guadalupe River has remained very low throughout August and now into September. And we have been relying on some senior water rights that we've purchased over the years to carry us through all this time that we've been on Stage 2. But we're to the point now where we need to go ahead and begin our groundwater exchange program to continue to sustain our water supply. And of course, that in itself triggers the implementation of Stage 3 of our drought contingency plan. So we began groundwater exchange today, September 11th, and of course, today also we enacted stage number 3. Stage 3 carries with it all of the requirements that Stage 2 had, but it further limits some of your non-essential uses of water. For instance, especially irrigation of landscaped areas using either hose-in sprinklers or sprinkler systems. You're still limited to between the hours of 6 and 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. and midnight, but you're further limited under Stage 3 to 2 days per week. That would be a Wednesday and Saturday if you have an odd-numbered address, or a Thursday and Sunday if you have an even-numbered address. Washing of vehicles at non-commercial car washes, or at your house, in other words, somewhere other than a commercial car wash, is still limited to the hours of 6 and 10 a.m. and 6 and 10 p.m. Additional restrictions are that of course, restaurants should not serve water to patrons unless they request it. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing that Stage 3 does is prohibits use of water to wash down sidewalks, walkways, driveways, any hard surfaces. Now, there are some exceptions available for new plantings, also for power washing in just prior to painting, or in the case of power washing a parking lot where there becomes a health or safety nuisance if you don't, and also for an initial pool fill. So there are some exceptions available. Those forms are on the city's website where they can be printed, completed, and turned in to the Public Works Department. And of course, we would review those along with the city manager and either grant or deny those. But that's where we are now. I know we're scheduled to get some rain this weekend. I think it will help with demand, water demand. I don't think it's going to help significantly with water supply. I think we're going to need a more substantial rain event than that to get us out of this drought. But hopefully we will not have to stay on groundwater exchange and in stage 3 for too long. Another requirement of stage 3 is that we begin aquatic biota monitoring in the river within 3 weeks of going to groundwater exchange. And so we will be bringing before you next Tuesday a resolution to approve an agreement with Texas State University to do that work in the event that we have to. Of course, we wouldn't actually pull the trigger on that until we have to, but we need to have the mechanism in place so that if we have to, we can do so. I'll answer any questions.
Ms. Solis.
In the event that you're driving down the road, I was going down Navarro, and there was either a sprinkler that was broken, but it was like, it was in our right-of-way, and it was shooting the water out to the street. Do we call you guys? Because I don't know who the owner of the building
Yes,
is.
you can call Public Works, and we will send a person by to converse with that commercial business
Yeah, but it
or
was at night,
resident.
so what do you do at night?
Well, at night, you can still call the Public Works Department, the water plant. That number's answered 24/7 at the water plant. And more than likely, it'll be the next day before we can get somebody by there, but we will get somebody by to talk to that owner.
Okay.
Or commercial, because normally they're on a timer, and so they're going to run that way for a period, then they're going to cut off, and then we would be able to catch
But
them.
it was shooting up high, and I said, oh, well, I didn't know what to do. And
A
I-
broken head,
Yeah.
probably.
So I just wanted to know, so that way, there was another question, but it escaped me just now.
The sampling, testing of the water downstream, that was required by TCEQ, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you, other cities, do you know where San Antonio is and Corpus with respect to their stage? I'm just-
San Antonio is currently in stage 4, but others in the Edwards Aquifer area, some of those are in stage 5 already.
Wow.
Which is basically no watering.
Right. Does the school district, do they have to, the watering of their grounds, do they comply with this, or are they exempt in any way?
They are not exempt.
They are not exempt. Okay, I get that question a lot. Anyway, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Is there any?
Now, OC may be asking you this, if you've got your well water, these restrictions do not apply to anybody that's using well water.
That's correct. They do. If you have a private well, these restrictions do not apply to that water from the private well. For instance, the golf courses here in Victoria all have private wells. They don't use the city water for irrigation. So although some of them do try to curtail watering during this time period, they don't actually fall under these provisions.
And those are grandfathered situations. Everybody shouldn't come ask us to drill a well,
That's
because
correct.
they're not going to be able to. All right. Okay. Thank you for the update. No further business. We are adjourned.
One comment, just want to remind council, we have a bond sale on Tuesday, just want to make sure y'all remember that. And I'm going in the market around 10 o'clock in the morning, so it's no backing out. If you want to back out today. So,
Okay, no.
It's not on the agenda.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.